Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto Vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
As well as shinobi had perished due to the monsters which the humans call the Kyuubi and the Sanbi. Several of the clans were hit hard due to the attack. Many shinobi from the Nara clan as well as the Aburame clan had died while confronting the Kyuubi. The Inuzuka clan head Sume Inuzuka bared great dislike towards the Nine Tails for taking her husband away. Although many felt odd that the shinobi from the Uchiha clan were nowhere to be seen during the confrontation with the two Biju on the frontline, they did not voice their concerns regarding the matter. The village was not destroyed completely. It's mainly due to their beloved Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, who prevented a Bijudama to be blasted inside the village perimeters, the Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, who pushed the Nine Tails outside the village with the help of his monkey summon, and the two Sannin, Jiraiya and Tsunade Senju, who dealt with the three tails. The only parts of the village that were destroyed were the industrial area and the area around the hospital. By this time, the people of the village were informed that their Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, had died during his battle with the Kyuubi and the Sanbi by the Anbu. However, they were not informed that the two beasts were sealed inside of a child, the Yondaime's child in fact. It was a time of grave mourning for everyone in the village. Currently, many of the villagers and shinobi had to camp outside in tents until their homes were rebuilt. The medical staff under Tsunade were constantly treating patients and looking after them in specified tents to save those who had a chance. The village security was on high alert at all times to detect the presence of any foreign shinobi or threats lingering around. Jiraiya had informed Hiruzen and Tsunade that he had to leave the village for a couple of days to contact his spy network to be on the lookout for the masked man and other threats that Konoha might encounter due to its weakness now. Luckily, the Senju compound wasn't destroyed during the attack. Soon after the two Biju were sealed inside of Naruto, Tsunade had taken him, as well as Shizune, to her home. The compound was protected by various seals that were put on by her grandmother, Mito Uzumaki. It was a wonder, Tsunade mused, that her seals were still in effect. Currently both Hiruzen and Tsunade were in the living room of the main house of the Senju compound. "So Tsunade, how is Shizune doing?" asked Sarutobi. "She's better than before. Most of her internal and external injuries are healed. I have given her some sedatives to keep her asleep for a while until she recovers her strength to get back on the field." Tsunade said absent-mindedly. "And what about Naruto? Is he okay?" He's okay too. He sleeps most of the time and when he's awake he doesn't cry much now," Tsunade said. Hiruzen noticed that Tsunade seemed to be deep in thought at the moment and a bit troubled for reasons he couldn't comprehend. So, he decided to voice his concerns. "Tsunade-chan, is everything okay? You seem a bit troubled," said Hiruzen, deciding to approach a bit soothingly. "Oh, you could tell, huh? I was just wondering about Naruto. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I will be a good mother. When Minato asked me that time, looking at the situation before us, I couldn't exactly say no and it was spur of a moment decision. So, I wonder if I will be a good mother figure for Naruto." Tsunade sighed a bit and continued telling, I am a mess. I am a heavy drinker, I gamble a lot and I just dread thinking if he will ever accept me as his mother." Hiruzen listened to her student speak intently and understood her situation from her point of view. "Do not worry too much, Tsunade-chan. Minato and Kushina trusted you, hence they decided that you should be the one to raise their child. Now, Naruto is not only their child, but yours too. I'm sure you will do a wonderful job raising him. Also, you won't be alone, remember. Jiraiya, Shizune and I will be there for you every step of the way. Naruto will become the living embodiment of the Minato, Kushina and you, Tsunade-chan. About your habits, I'm sure Naruto will keep you busy enough that you won't get much time for your other less desirable habits," Hiruzen said softly. Tsunade did not say anything for a few seconds as she pondered over what her sensei just told her. It was true, what he said just now. As time passes, hopefully, she can come out of her shell which she created around herself and enjoy life around her more, and maybe Naruto could become the reason for that. She knew she loved Naruto. She would treat him like her own child, which he was now. She knew most of her time would pass by looking after her son, and that would keep her busy. My son, Tsunade thought. That thought alone brought a sudden smile and change of mood to her face, which did not go unnoticed by Hiruzen. She looked at Hiruzen and said, "You're right, sensei. I should not dwell in such thoughts anymore. He's my son now and nothing is going to change that. He's Senju Naruto, heir to the Senju clan and son of Senju Tsunade." Tsunade said the last part a little proudly. Hiruzen smiled upon seeing the determination in her eyes. It reminded him of the times when Tsunade was hell-bent on doing something, and most of the time it ended up doing it her way. "That's good to hear, Tsunade-chan," said Hiruzen. "So, how are you liking it back in your office, Hokage-sama?" asked Tsunade slyly. Hiruzen caught the mocking tone at the end and growled. It was a well-known fact that none of the Kages ever liked to do paperwork. "Oh, don't you dare. The paperwork is endless. I feel the rest of my hair will fall sitting behind that desk and signing those accursed papers." Tsunade had to hold in a laugh upon hearing that. "Anyway, what are you doing here, sensei? Shouldn't you be busy in your work?" "Oh yes, I almost forgot what I came here for. There will be a village gathering at Hokage Tower this evening, and I will be making an official announcement regarding Minato and Kushina's death and about my reinstatement as Hokage. There will also be a council meeting tomorrow with the Shinobi and Civilian Council regarding the reconstruction of the village, finances and other matters about the welfare of the village," said Hiruzen seriously. "You must keep the Civilian Council and those three elders at bay, sensei. Minato did a good job in reminding them that it is a shinobi village and it's ruled by the Hokage. My grand uncle had set several laws regarding the Civilian Council and set them up only for the civilians' welfare. They must be reminded of their position, should they try to usurp their power again," said Tsunade. "Yes, Tsunade. I'm aware of that. Do not worry too much about them," Hiruzen said with a sigh. "Well, I think I should be on my way now, damn paperwork." Hiruzen grumbled. Hiruzen left the Senju compound after seeing Naruto's sleeping form in his baby crib and checking up on Shizune once and headed towards his Hokage office. Later that evening, at the Hokage Tower, the civilians as well as the shinobi had all been notified of the announcement that would be made in the evening by the Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Many had not recovered yet, especially the civilians. Some of the civilians who used to run restaurants had put up stalls for those who were hungry, as this was a time of great need for everyone. The base of the Hokage Tower was currently crowded by the villagers of Konohagakure no Sato. Those who were not in good condition to stand were sitting down, while some were being supported by their fellow villagers, shinobi. The major clans of Konoha were also present at this moment, as they were informed this was an important announcement. "I wonder what this announcement is about?" asked a random civilian to another nearby. "I don't know. But I have heard it's regarding the Kyuubi and Sanbi attack a couple of days back," replied the person with clear disdain present in his voice when he spoke the names of those monsters. Several conversations regarding the announcement by the Sandaime were being discussed by both the civilians and shinobi alike. On top of the Hokage Tower, Sarutobi Hiruzen was standing with the three Konoha elders behind him. Sarutobi looked down upon the crowd and saw some of them talking among themselves and smiled a bit. Even though there was a major-scale attack on the village not even 2 days ago, it had not broken the spirits of the people. They were helping each other out and talking to each other instead of drowning in their sorrows. What Hiruzen did not know is that among those very people, were some who were festering immense hatred towards the fox and the turtle. The hatred that was developing in their hearts would soon consume them and drive them to do something unimaginable. Sarutobi looked back at his advisors and they indicated that he should start with the announcement. The aged Hokage applied some chakra to his voice and spoke, "Citizens of Konohagakure, it is good to see that people are helping each out in this time of need. A village is not made up of buildings and rules, rather it's made of the people that reside in the village. It is no matter that several buildings were destroyed. We shall recover soon from this catastrophe and get back to our normal lives. I do realize, many of us have lost people close to us. But do remember, they did not die in vain. Several who have died have helped some to get to safety, especially the young ones. It is the younger generation that is the future of our village, and thus our duty to protect and guide them until they can do the same. The citizens were intently listening to the Sandaime speak, and some did find a lot of truth in what he was saying as they looked towards the young and smiled. Many shinobi were thinking of their comrades who helped get the civilians to safety and lost their lives on the front line. Sarutobi now had a somber look on his face as he continued. Our beloved Yondaime Hokage sacrificed his life to preserve this village today. He battled the two Biju, the Kyuubi and the Sanbi, and used an ancient kinjutsu, forbidden jutsu, to take the life of the two demons. Kushina Uzumaki, our deceased Hokage's close friend, also assisted him in performing this jutsu, thus she too was killed during the process. Many of the villagers by this time had their head down in remembrance of Minato Namikaze, the greatest Hokage to exist up till now, and Kushina Uzumaki, the Akai Chishio no Habanero. The shinobi who knew Minato and Kushina well, shed some tears too. Sarutobi exhaled a deep sigh and said, as per the Yondaime's last wish, I, Sarutobi Hirsuen, the Sadaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato shall retake the position of Hokage. We will hold a funeral for our deceased Hokage and all those who sacrificed their lives for the future of this village. All the people standing in the crowd nodded and smiled at Sarutobi's words and cheered that he would be retaking the position as the leader of the village. Soon after the announcement was made, Hiruzen saw the people leaving back to their homes, and he too turned to leave the office to catch up with his paperwork, when a voice stopped him. Sarutobi, don't forget about the council meeting tomorrow. It is important that we get the village running smoothly as soon as possible. The other nations might consider this a good time to show their superiority to us, said Homura. Hiruzen nodded and was about to leave again when another annoying voice stopped him. What of the Jinchuriki, Sarutobi? Asked Danzo. It's Hokage-sama to you, Danzo. Do not forget your place. I am still the leader of this village, and even though you are an advisor and hold a certain amount of power, it is still beneath me. And no, there is nothing to discuss about him right now. Whatever there is, it shall be told in the council meeting tomorrow in front of all the clan heads. Spoke Hiruzen sternly without ever giving a glance to the old war hawk, and walked off to his office. Unnoticed by anyone else, Danzo had gripped his cane tightly upon being put down like that. It still infuriated him that Tobirama had picked Hiruzen as Hokage instead of him. No matter. My time shall come. I will continue to protect my Konoha from the shadows. All I must do is play my cards right and wait for the right opportunity, thought Danzo. He looked towards Koharu and Homura and disappeared in a sunshine after giving them a nod. Do you think it's wise, Homura? I mean, to side with Danzo against Sarutobi? Hiruzen may be a pacifist, but our village has still come on top in 2 great shinobi wars with him as leader, and he's still among the strongest kage in the elemental nations, Koharu said after seeing the look on Danzo's face. Both Homura and Koharu knew how infuriated Danzo had become when Hiruzen was given the position of Sandaime Hokage. They were also the only ones in the village who knew the workings of the root Anbu who worked under Danzo's command. Both knew they had become old and were not much of use in the battlefield, but could still prepare the young to do their duty properly, that is the protection of their homeland. We have become old, Koharu. It is true some of our ideals do not match that with Hiruzen's, but yes, you are right. Sometimes it's hard to look at Danzo the same way I used to look at him earlier. He was different when we were all under the guidance of Tobirama sensei. Our village is built on the foundation of the will of fire. I do not want to change that. We old people are not the ones who should stand out among everyone. It is the job of the younger generation, Homura said, looking straight down at the village, his home. So, what should we do? We know what Danzo does is not ethical, but he is still useful to the village. Homura thought for few moments and said, We'll keep an eye on him. He trusts us, as of now. So, it will be much easier for us to keep him in check, and if he ever endangers our village, he will have to be put down. We'll discuss this later with Hiruzen in private. Both then headed back to their place after their discussion. It was night time in the village hidden in the leaves. Most of the people by this time were asleep in their tents, while some of the shinobi were patrolling on the outskirts of the village to keep a lookout for any enemy ninja or other threats. While the village was deep in sleep, Hiruzen was cursing to himself, sitting at his desk in the office for retaking the position. Not even a few days since he retook the job, and his desk was already flooded with so much damn paperwork. Ah, will these nuisances ever end? How did Minato ever do it? Shouted the Sandame as he looked towards Minato's picture on the wall beside the Hokage office door. Said wall also hoisted the picture frames of Shodai, Nadaime and Sandame Hokage. Sarutobi, while muttering curses, got back to signing the papers again as he realized just shouting will not help his case in any way. There were several useless requests made by the civilians which he denied, and made the Hokage wonder if there was anything useful among these piles of papers. While Sarutobi was busy doing his work, he soon felt a presence in his room and knew exactly who it was. "You can come out now, Jiraiya," Sarutobi said calmly. "Oh, I could never hide from you, sensei. If it was anyone other than you, I wouldn't be sensed at all," Jiraiya said. "So, what have you found, Jiraiya? Anything worthwhile?" asked Hiruzen. "I couldn't find much on the masked man, sensei. I don't know how it's possible, but it's like he just disappeared into thin air. Although, I did come across an upcoming group of mercenaries. One of my informants in Tsuchi no Kuni informed me of a group made up of missing nin. They take up missions which are near impossible, and their success rate is 100% up till now. And the surprising thing is, all these missing nin in the group are S-rank criminals," said Jiraiya. Now, Hiruzen Sarutobi is among the smartest people in the elemental nations. It was his ability to discern a situation with little information and his battle prowess that gave him the title of Shinobi Number Kami. So, there aren't many things that could surprise him. But hearing about a mercenary group made of only S-rank criminals did catch his attention. That would also mean that there was someone powerful enough to subdue several cage-level shinobi as their leader. That is indeed alarming, Jiraiya. A shinobi who can defeat several S-rank criminals and keep them in order is not something to laugh at. Do you know what their purpose is? I doubt someone would willingly gather several such missing nin with no purpose to guide them with," said an alarmed Hokage. "Well, that's the thing. The group is extremely secretive. I don't know anything else about them. Do keep an eye on them, Jiraiya. They sound of trouble. As of this moment, Konoha is weak, and we need to work hard to make the village stand properly in the eyes of our enemies," Hiruzen said slowly. Jiraiya knew his sensei was tired. This job of being Hokage was a hard one indeed. It demanded a lot of sacrifice and made you question your morals sometimes. But to keep the village prospering, it was necessary to be tactful and be ready to sacrifice yourself. That's what it meant to be Hokage. You must sacrifice the most, so the people of the village that follow you will have an easy road ahead of them. Jiraiya thought for a while whether he should tell Sensei about the prophecy and Naruto, but decided he could wait on that for a while. He felt Naruto is too young right now and should be given the chance to enjoy his life as much as he can. He looked at his sensei once again and said, "Well, Sarutobi sensei, I guess I will take my leave now. I will stay in the village more often now, since Naruto and Tsunade will be here. I will be staying with Tsunade in the Senju compound." "Yes, that's good actually. Naruto will need both of you while growing up. Also, with two of the Sannin in Konoha, I doubt anyone would try to attack the village," said the Hokage. Jiraiya and Hiruzen exchanged their goodbyes, and the Toad Sannin left through the same window he had come in while masking his presence. Jiraiya started jumping from roof to roof at a slow pace and made his way towards the Senju compound. Meanwhile, in the Senju compound, Shizune was in the living room sitting on the table with a cup of tea in front of her. She had woken up a few hours earlier and was now feeling completely better. She was informed of the events that took place after she fell unconscious. She was extremely sad after hearing of Minato, Kushina and Rin's death. She may not have known them very well, but they were still good people in her books. She felt even more horrible after hearing of Naruto's fate. Being made into the Jinchuriki of not only the Sanbi, but the Kyuubi as well, and losing both his parents on the day of his birth was not something she would wish on anyone. Although even among so many grim news, she was glad and shocked to hear the last thing her master had told her. The fact that her master, Tsunade Senju, agreed to adopt Naruto and raise him as her own son, was surprising to her. She did not think the Senju woman would be capable to commit to someone in such a way, after the death of her deceased lover, Dan Kato, and her little brother, Nawaki Senju. Tsunade was sitting on the sofa in the living room with little Naruto in her hands. He was one of the most beautiful and cutest things in her opinion. She sat in an Indian position with both legs crossed and Naruto cradled safely in her arms. Naruto, meanwhile, was sleeping peacefully. After Hiruzen had visited Tsunade, Naruto had woken up a while later and surprisingly, he did not cry. She expected the child to cry, considering most babies of his age do when they wake up from a nap. Although she did notice he felt uncomfortable when she was away from him. Tsunade felt extremely happy that her son felt such an attachment to her already. He would always have a wide smile on his face and giggle when he is in her arms awake. She had spent most of the time today sitting at the koi pond in the Senju compound with little Naruto in her arms. As she was lost in her thoughts, she felt a slight movement in her arms and looked down to see those curious violet eyes looking at her. She immediately got rid of her thoughts and smiled and said, "Oh, my little Naru-chan is awake. Did you have a good nap?" asked Tsunade in a very motherly tone. Naruto just stared at her and smiled once again while moving his tiny hands in air up and down. Tsunade, seeing his happy face, seemed to take that as a yes and leaned down to kiss him on his forehead. Shizune, who was sitting on the side, smiled upon seeing the interaction between Naruto and Tsunade. "I am really glad for you, Tsunade-sama. Now, you can put down the wall that you grew in your heart and be happy again. I am sure you will be a wonderful mother to Naruto," she thought. Unknown to the two women, a person had just entered the room from the open window in the living room and immediately had a massive nosebleed upon seeing the situation in front of him. What he saw was the massive cleavage of Tsunade while she was leaning down to kiss Naruto on his forehead. Both Tsunade and Shizune got into defensive stances upon hearing the intruder. When they saw who it was, Tsunade had a scowl on her face and said, "Out of all the people, it had be him. Damn that pervert." Shizune approached Jiraiya and tried to wake him up, as he had a perverted grin on his face. Naruto during all this time just kept staring at the strange man who entered and was now lying on the floor. After around 20 minutes or so, when everything was settled down, Jiraiya, Shizune and Tsunade with Naruto in her arms were sitting on the sofa. "So, what are you doing here, Jiraiya?" asked an irritated Tsunade after she fixed her clothes. "Can't a man come to visit his godson, huh? I just came back to the village a while back after contacting my spy network. So, I thought I should see little Naruto and you." "Yeah, right. All you want to see is perverted stuff," mumbled Tsunade. Jiraiya just scoffed and looked at Shizune and said, "How are you now, Shizune? Feeling better now?" "Yes. Thank you, Jiraiya-sama. Tsunade-sama treated all of my injuries and I'm fine now," said Shizune. "Tsunade, I will be staying in the village a lot more now. I want to be there for Naruto while he grows up. It's still hard to believe Minato and Kushina are gone, but their legacy, and now your son, Naruto, is still here. So, I want to be there by his side," Jiraiya said in a soft tone, looking at Naruto, who too was staring at Jiraiya. Tsunade felt a bit down thinking about Minato and Kushina, but she knew it was no use thinking of what has already happened. She then looked down at Naruto and saw him staring at Jiraiya and smiling a bit. "I guess, it will be okay. Naru-chan will need a male figure in his life," thought Tsunade. "If you ever try anything perverted and do something inappropriate around him, Jiraiya, I swear, You won't be a man anymore after that. Threatened Tsunade. Jiraiya just gulped and nodded his head listening to Tsunade, while Shizune was covering her mouth trying not to laugh at that. Tsunade could be scary when wants to be. For the next few hours, Tsunade and Jiraiya chatted with each other while Naruto was being held by Jiraiya. Shizune went to the kitchen to prepare dinner for everyone. After the dinner was made, Tsunade put Naruto back in his baby crib as he showed signs of falling asleep. The three adults then had their dinner in a tranquil way, where Tsunade, Shizune and Jiraiya were talking about Naruto and how he would grow up. The next day, Jiraiya and Tsunade were both currently in the Hokage's office sitting on a futon. Naruto was currently all wrapped up in a forest green blanket and awake in his mother's arms. He would often yawn and close his eyes for a while and at times look around the office with his wide innocent eyes. Sarutobi was standing near the window looking down at his village and puffing at his pipe. So, Sarutobi-sensei, when does the meeting start and why did you wish to talk to us before it? Asked Tsunade. Tsunade, during the council meeting, many topics will be brought forth. Reconstruction of the village, finance situation, shinobi duties during this time, and the attack on the village. Spoke Hiruzen. Yes, you told me sensei. What about it? Obviously, you didn't just want to speak with me and Jiraiya for those matters privately. I know. What I mean about the attack on the village is of the fate of the two Biju. Some of the people are not so ignorant as to believe that a mere human could kill a Biju. I am certain that Danzo will bring up that topic, seeing as how he approached me yesterday regarding the Jinchuriki. Said Hiruzen calmly. What? But how does he know? He was not even on the battlefield. And I'm pretty sure none of us would just go to him and tell him about the Kyuubi. Tsunade said worriedly. Don't worry. I put down any discussion he could have brought right there. We have to reveal Naruto's heritage to the Shinobi Council and also the fact that he's now your adopted son as per Minato's last wish, which he also stated in a letter. Sarutobi said, taking out a letter out of his desk. He then handed the letter to Jiraiya and Tsunade, who then went over the letter once each. Minato was always a smart person. Even during battle, he remembered to make sure Naruto will have a good life. Said Jiraiya. Both Tsunade and Sarutobi nodded their head at that, remembering some of the instances when both were appalled by the sheer brilliance and kind nature which was exuded by Minato. Tsunade, I must warn you, you may not like some of the things Danzo might say during the council meeting or some of the reasons he may bring forward to be handed custody of Naruto, so please refrain yourself from destroying anything. Hiruzen spoke looking at the slug Sanin. I will try sensei. Can't make any promises. Naruto is my son now. If someone tries to do any harm to him, they will meet fist sooner or later. The tone in which Tsunade said that made both Jiraiya and Sarutobi flinch a bit. I hope everything goes well. You can be scary when you want to be, Tsunade-chan, Hiruzen thought. While Tsunade, Jiraiya and Sarutobi were discussing their matters, there was a knock on the office door, followed by an enter from Sarutobi. A few seconds later, a woman in her mid-20s with short brown hair entered the office. This was Mitsuki, the secretary of the third Hokage. She walked inside and saw Tsunade and Jiraiya standing there with Hiruzen. Her eyes then fell on the small blonde-haired baby that was Naruto sleeping in Tsunade's arms. She wondered who the baby was and then realized she spaced out for a few seconds. She turned to face her Hokage and spoke, Hokage-sama, the council is ready for the meeting. All the clan heads and the members from the civilian council have gathered in the council chambers along with the three elders. Thank you for your assistance, Mitsuki-san. We will be there shortly. You may go back now. Hiruzen acknowledged. Mitsuki bowed once and left the office to get back to her desk to continue her work. Sarutobi, Jiraiya and Tsunade along with Naruto too left the office towards the council chambers. Council chambers. The council chamber was currently in a bustle of activity as they waited for the last three members to come in for the meeting. There was an air of tension in the room which was evident on the faces of all the council members. Most of the clans as well as the members from the civilian council had lost someone close to them during the attack 3 days earlier. Many of the civilian council members were eagerly awaiting this, having made plans earlier to reacquire power once again. The elders were also another group that were present in the chambers. Danzo was standing with a stoic mask on his face and holding a cane in his left hand. Homura and Kaharu were standing beside him, waiting to see what Sarutobi would do during this meeting. It was about 10 minutes later that the door to the council chambers opened and in walked Hiruzen Sarutobi, donning in his white and red Hokage robes, followed by Jiraiya, Tsunade and Naruto, who was still asleep in his mother's arms. The Hokage sat down at his seat, which was at the head of the table. At the opposite end of the table were the 3 elders. On Sarutobi's left side were the civilian council members and on his right were the shinobi council members, clan heads. There was an empty seat near the Hokages on the shinobi council side, which was taken by Tsunade and Naruto. Next to her was the head of the Hyuga clan, Hiyashi Hyuga, who just looked at her and nodded. She did notice he was particularly looking at Naruto and his eyes did widen a little, although he kept quiet. Next to him was the Uchiha clan head, Fugaku Uchiha, who did not spare her a glance, followed by Aburame Shibi, head of the Aburame clan head, Sum Inuzuka, head of the Inuzuka clan, Nara Shikaku, Jonin commander and head of the Nara clan, Inoichi Yamanaka, head of the Yamanaka clan, and the last one on the shinobi council was Choza Akamichi, head of the Akamichi clan. On the civilian council member side, there were various wealthy merchants and veteran shinobi who are now civilians due to an abrupt halt in their ninja careers because of their injuries. They also included some of the most important civilians of the village that ran most shops, provided food, clothes and other materials and services for the shinobi use. Sarutobi, seeing that everyone was just quiet for a while, cleared his throat to gain everyone's attention. The council is in session now. Homura took a few steps towards the table and spoke. As we all know, few days ago, our village was attacked by 2 Biju, the 9 Tails and the 3 Tails, which destroyed some parts of our village. We were lucky that our Yondaime Hokage, along with Kushina Uzumaki, Sandaime Sama, Jiraiya and Tsunade could deal with them effectively, thus decreasing the damage the 2 beasts might have caused. As it stands, I doubt we could call Konohagakure no Sato the strongest village among the elemental nations anymore. Our village morale is down now and we must act immediately towards those matters concerning our village as soon as possible. He paused for a while and saw that everyone on the shinobi side seemed to agree with him and along with those on the civilian side. Now Nara Shikaku, briefly tell us the damage that was sustained by the village and the number of casualties for both the shinobi and civilians. He said, looking at Shikaku. Troublesome. Why must it be me? Shikaku muttered. He then looked at Sarutobi and spoke, Hokage-sama, due to the prior information of the attack which was given to all the clan heads and the Anbu, most of the civilians were taken to the emergency safe zones behind the Hokage monument. Although there were some unfortunate ones who were not able to get away in time. As of now, per my report, between 200 to 300 civilians lost their lives, mainly those who were still inside their homes during evacuation. Their corpses have been recovered and have been taken to the morgue. Now, in case of the shinobi, I would say around 40% of our ninja forces were killed during the attack. These include shinobi from the Nara clan, Aburame clan, Akamichi clan, Inuzuka clan and the Sarutobi clan. Most of these shinobi who were killed were on the frontline battling the 9 Tails and the 3 Tails. Said Shikaku in a serious tone. Hokage nodded his head, listening to his Jonin commander's report and said, "Thank you, Shikaku. We must increase the border patrol even more for the next few months and keep an eye on the other villagers in case they try to do something. Also, for the next few years, the number of the missions handled by our village will increase to increase the revenue of the village. I know many of you have lost someone close to you over here, and may need some time to grieve, but it's a critical time right now. As Elder Homura said, we are vulnerable right and our morale is down. The more missions we take, with the quality of our shinobi the mission success rate will be good, which in turn will increase our standing in the eyes of the villages and make them hesitant to do something against us. But we must work hard together at this point, as this village was built on the foundation of the will of fire and teamwork. I believe in this village, and together, we will be able to recover from this situation in given time," said the third Hokage, looking at everyone. Many in the council chambers felt their spirits rejuvenated upon hearing their Hokage's words. Danzo, who was standing on the side, quiet up to this point, was the only one who felt what Sarutobi said was naive. "It's time to increase our military strength and show other villages what we can do, Sarutobi. Your pacifist ideals are not going to take us anywhere," he thought. "Hokage-sama?" asked the Uchiha clan head. Sarutobi looked at Fugaku and urged him to continue. "What happened to the two Bijus? Could you go into the details about how Yondaime Hokage was able to kill the Kyuubi and the Sanbi?" Hirsuin tensed a bit and looked at Jiraiya and Suand upon hearing Fugaku ask that. He also noticed the way he asked how Minato killed the two Bijus, as if taunting his abilities. "I would ask the civilian council to leave now, as what I'm about to say it doesn't concern you anymore," Sarutobi said sternly. "What? We are part of this council. And we have every right to be here. You can't just kick us out," shouted one of the civilian merchants. There were several similar statements given by the other members of the civilian council. Silence. "Might I remind you, that you are only here for the welfare of the civilians and not concerning shinobi matters. As per Konoha law states, I, the Hokage, have every right to excuse you from the council chambers right now. The civilian council has no power during times of emergency which puts the village in danger," Sarutobi said, looking directly into the eyes of the member who first voiced his statement, while also releasing a subtle amount of killing intent. Those who were shouting earlier were now brought back to reality when the killing intent seemed to hit their senses and immediately made them shut their mouths. "Whatever requests you may have can be sent to me in a written form and I will go over them and decide if it's acceptable. I realize many of your businesses are hampered due to the attack, and you all shall be given a certain amount of money to get your business back on track." Hiruzen spoke again, to calm their nerves slightly. He then ordered the Anbu present outside the council chambers to escort the civilian members outside the room. "Smart move, Hiruzen. I see what you're doing about not talking about the Jinchuriki in front of the civilians. No matter. They shall know soon," Danzo thought, who was keeping quiet, standing beside the other two elders of the village. All the clan heads, Jiraiya and Tsunade, were impressed with how Sarutobi had handled the civilians. None of them ever did like those power-hungry fools. Hiruzen then motioned for Jiraiya to come and state the matter at hand regarding the two Biju, who was standing behind Tsunade, near the wall. Jiraiya stepped up in front of all the clan heads and looked at everyone as if trying to read their minds. He then started speaking. "First of all, the Bijus are beasts entirely made of chakra. It is impossible for any human to kill them. Chakra cannot be killed. It can only be absorbed or be sealed." At this point, many of the clan heads were looking at each other and thinking the same thing. So it's true, the Kyuubi and the Sanbi are not dead. Jiraiya saw the look of fear on many of their faces and explained further. "My student, Minato Namikaze, did the next best thing he could to ensure the survival of this village. He sealed the two beasts into a child." There were many gasps heard among the clan heads, not because a Jinchuriki was made, but because two Biju were sealed inside a single person. "Jiraiya-sama, how is this possible? Two Biju inside one person? I have never heard of such a thing. And who is this child you are talking about?" asked Sum. "Minato sealed the two Biju inside his own child," Jiraiya said. And that was the statement that brought chaos within the chamber walls. "What the hell? His child? When did he have a kid? Forget that, when did he even marry? Why weren't we informed?" asked Fugaku. This question was in the minds of several other clan heads. Jiraiya just motioned towards the baby which Tsunade was holding, and now that everyone got a good look at him, they could see the resemblance between their late Yondaime and Naruto. "His name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." It was Tsunade who said it. "Uzumaki. You don't mean her, do you?" asked Shikaku. Tsunade just smirked and said, "Yes, Shikaku. It's her child too." Minato and Kushina married during the war in secret. Minato wanted to keep it a secret until the war was over and until Naruto was born. He had many enemies, and he didn't want to risk Kushina's safety during the war, even though she was powerful on her own. The clan heads had mixed reaction concerning the matter at their hand. On one hand, this was the Yondaime Hokage's child, who is practically royalty in the village, and on the other hand, is that two monsters were sealed inside him who took the lives of many of friend and family. It was Sum who spoke now. "I won't lie. I am a bit apprehensive towards the pup. My husband was killed by the Nine Tails after all. But I know it's not his fault for the situation he is in right now. Just tell me, are you sure the seal which contains the two beasts is safe? Is there any danger of the two bijus getting out?" The Uchiha clan head decided to just stay quiet at this point. He knew what many of the shinobi thought of the Uchiha. Since they were not present on the battlefield during the attack, many suspected that it the Uchiha clan's fault for the presence of the Kyuubi and the Sanbi. It was no secret to anyone that the Sharingan can subdue the biju. No. Minato used an ancient kinjutsu called the Hake no Fuin Shiki to seal the two biju inside Naruto here. His Uzumaki genes give him fast regeneration, and extremely potent chakra. This kinjutsu summons the Shinigami who seals the desired object in a host at the cost of the jutsu's caster's life. So basically, the seal is powered by the Shinigami. Also, another thing about this seal is that it slowly drains the chakra of the beasts and pours it into the natural chakra reservoir of the person, in turn making their chakra capacity increase and increasing the potency of their chakra. Lastly, there is no way for the two biju to escape their prison. The two biju are now bound to Naruto's soul, which means, if Naruto dies, the two biju will also die, that is, that their souls would be taken by the Shinigami. So, do not worry about them getting out. Naruto also is not going to be affected by their presence. Explained the Toad Sanin in detail. The explanation seemed to calm the nerves of several clan heads who now looked relieved. Danzo, who was quiet up till now, spoke. "Hokage-sama, I request the boy be given to me for training when he's of right age. He is a Jinchuriki, a human sacrifice. He needs to be molded into the perfect weapon for this village. Under my training, he will prosper much, and with the might of the 9 tails and 3 tails at our disposal, other villages will definitely cower before us." Tsunade, who became enraged upon hearing this, was about to yell at him, when she saw Sarutobi raise his hand. "That will not be required, Danzo. I have a letter signed by Minato, which asks Tsunade to raise Naruto as her own child, and my student has already agreed to raise Naruto. As for training, I believe Tsunade and Jiraiya will be adequate for him as he grows up. We do not need a weapon, Danzo. We need a loyal shinobi who cares for this village. One who fights and protects this village till her last breath," said the Hokage firmly. "He's right, Danzo. Your training methods will do nothing but kill the boy's emotion. He's a child, and even now he's protecting the village by keeping the two beasts sealed. The child should be hailed as a hero." Surprisingly, it was Hiashi who voiced his thoughts in front of everyone. He looked at Tsunade and said, "Tsunade-sama, Minato and Kushina were good friends of mine and Hitomi. And I have no doubt in his sealing prowess. It makes me sad that he won't be there to raise his child with Kushina, but I'm also glad you are offering to raise Naruto as your own son. The Hyuga clan shall offer you any assistance you may require." I must concur with Hiashi-sama. Naruto is only a child. It is more important for him to have a normal childhood and come to love this village on his own terms. The more people he associates with, the more friends he may make, and thus he will be forming roots in this village. That will only increase his love towards Konohagakure. The Nara clan will also provide help when required to Naruto and Suan-sama. One by one, most of the clan heads agreed with Hiashi and decided it was best for Naruto to have a normal childhood and come to love the village with his own views. Eventually even Homura and Kaharu agreed with this decision. Tsunade was glad. Mere moments ago, Danzo was planning to take her child away, Like I will let him. That old bone must go through me first. She thought, and now nearly all the clan heads were in support of Naruto being raised by her. The only one who didn't say anything was Fugaku. He didn't like the fact that a new Senju heir was coming in the village. His clan's status was drastically decreasing within the village, and so was their power. I will think of something, when the situation is unavoidable. He thought at the end. This is outrageous. He is nothing but weapon. Kami has gifted us with a boy with immense untapped potential. If I train the boy, we can be on top against all the other 4 great nations. Shouted Danzo. My decision is final, Danzo, and watch your tone when you're speaking to your Hokage. I shall not remind you again. Naruto will now be known as Senju Naruto, since Tsunade will be adopting him into the Senju clan. When the time is right, he will be told of his birth parents and the burden he bears. Until then, I make it a class secret. No one is to talk about Naruto's heritage outside these chambers or discuss about his burden to anyone else without his permission. Hiruzen said in a dead serious tone. Damn you, Sarutobi. It doesn't matter. Soon things will go my way. Let's see how the civilians handle the news of the Jinchuriki. He will be my weapon sooner or later. Thought an enraged Danzo. Now, setting that aside, we will require some new treaties with other villages soon. Sunagakur is an option. They are the closest to our village and were mostly neutral towards us during the last war. Let's wait a few years and then we'll approach them. He paused and looked at the reports in his hands which Shikaku had given him earlier in the meeting, and said, the hospital and the industrial parts of the village were affected the most as per the reports. The Akamichi clan could provide the manpower required for moving heavy objects along with the Nara and Aburame clan. The finances will be arranged soon. I will have a talk with the fire daimyo soon, to ask for his assistance in the matter. The other occupants of the council seemed to agree with their roles, and the Akamichi, Nara and Aburame clan were glad to help in the reconstruction of the village in any way they could. The rest of the meeting went without a hitch, and soon all the clan heads and the elders had taken their leave to their respective places. Sarutobi, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Naruto went back to the Hokage's office after the council meeting was over. Well, that went well. It's good most of the clans consider Naruto to be a normal kid. Said Jiraiya looking at Naruto, who awoke earlier due to the commotion in the council chambers. Yes, I am happy about that. At least my Naru-chan can have a peaceful life inside the village now and can make friends with other kids of his age. Tsunade said. Won't you, my little Naru-chan? You are going to make a lot friends and play with them, huh? She said to Naruto, wriggling his little nose, which seemed to make Naruto really happy and made him giggle a bit looking at his mother. Well, it is nice to hear the prospect of Naruto having a good life ahead. But we will still have to train him properly when he's of age, Tsunade, Jiraiya. Because of the burden he carries, he won't have an easy life outside the village. We can only make sure to keep him safe properly inside the walls of Konohagakure no Sato. Hiruzen said. Don't worry, Sarutobi-sensei. I will look after his training personally, and I know Jiraiya will help too when we start with Naruto. Tsunade said with a smile. You bet I will. He's my godson after all. I will make him into a fine shinobi and other things too. Jiraiya said with a perverted grin at the end, which earned him a chakra-powered punch to his face. Sarutobi just sighed seeing his student's antics. He then looked at Naruto, who was looking at the big hole created by Jiraiya when he was thrown outside by Tsunade's punch, and thought, Senju Naruto, I can't wait to see how your story unfolds in the future. Meeting of two brothers. Time skip. 3 years and 7 months. Damn boy, get back here and eat your vegetables. Mock shouted Tsunade as she ran after an almost 4-year blonde boy. The boy had spiky blonde hair and jaw-length bangs on each side, and some of his hair covered his forehead. He wore a white t-shirt with Senju clan symbol on the back of his shirt and black shorts. He had green slippers on, which surprisingly had several toad pictures imprinted on them. This boy was indeed Senju Naruto. He was now 3 years and 7 months of age. Ha ha ha. Ka-chan, you're not going to get me to eat those vegetables. I don't like them at all. playfully said Naruto while sticking his tongue out to his mother and once again running off to the gardens at the back of the house. The gardens behind the main house of the Senju compound was a scene to behold. There were trees, bushes, lush green grass and beautiful flowers as far as one could see. There was one tree in the middle which was the largest among all and provided good shade for someone sitting under it. There was also a koi pond at the side of that large tree where several swam. The special character about these trees, grass and bushes in the garden was that they contained Hashirama Senju's chakra, as they were in fact grown by him. While the pond in the garden was Tobarama Senju's doing, which he made by gathering the moisture in the air particles. The Nadime's control over Sweden-natured chakra was considered an epitome even among the shinobi of Kurigakure no Sato, who excelled in Sweden ninjutsu. Naruto ran as fast as his little legs could take him and went under the shade of the largest tree in the garden and sat down. He put his back on the tree and spread his legs on the soft grass in a carefree manner. He put his hands behind his head for support and closed his eyes to enjoy the calm breeze that was blowing. He instantly felt at ease and calm. He couldn't explain it why, but sitting in a garden, forest or in general nature itself made him feel a sense of serenity. It was as if the nature was beckoning him to come to it. He opened his eyes and looked towards the sky. It was a cloudy day today, with a slight tint of orange to it. He could barely see the sun. Ah, I like it here, Naruto thought to himself, as a content smile formed on his face and he closed his eyes again. Unknown to Naruto, Tsunade, who was standing nearby without alerting Naruto of her presence, saw the content smile on her son's face and how he seemed to enjoy nature so much. It eerily reminded her of her grandfather, Hashirama Senju, but thought nothing much of it. She slowly approached Naruto from behind the tree and went in front to stand in front of Naruto. She bent down and casually poked Naruto on the forehead. Ow ow, Ka-chan, whined Naruto. Hearing Naruto call her Ka-chan, still warmed her heart. She looked at him smiling and said, Naru-chan. Come on. You know, you have to eat healthy food to grow up strong. Said Suand. But I don't want to. I don't like them and I like just lying down here on the grass. It's peaceful. He said the last part with a soft whisper. You know, I thought I would take you outside to play at the playground with other children your age, had you eaten your vegetables. But seeing the situation now, I guess, I will have to go alone with Shizune. Tsunade said with, smirking in her mind. Hearing that, made Naruto perk up a bit. Really? You were really thinking to take me to the park to meet other children? He asked with an innocent voice. Yes, son, I did. I even thought of getting you an ice cream cone after that. She said with a straight face. Naruto eyed his mother with a hard a gaze a 3-year-old could make. Tsunade instantly wanted to hug her blonde boy to death upon seeing his cute face but held her straight face. After what seemed like eternity, Naruto nodded to his mother. She picked him up in her arms and he happily put his head in the crook of her neck and sighed contently. Tsunade always liked how Naruto felt peaceful and happy whenever she was close to him. The mother and son duo then went inside their haven, to the dining table and sat down. Somewhat glaring at the vegetables, Naruto picked up his spoon, and started gulping down the vegetables on his plate as fast as he could. As Naruto was eating his food, Tsunade looked at her son again and thought about how 4 years almost passed and how much her life had changed in those years. Flashback. Tsunade was sitting at the porch at the back of her house. Jiraiya was standing beside her looking at a small blonde boy who too was looking at them. Naruto, at this point, was almost a year old. He couldn't speak properly yet. Most of the time, it was baby language which Tsunade and Shizune for some reason seemed to understand while Jiraiya couldn't make heads or tails of it. Wah wah wah, Naruto said with a chirpy expression on his face looking at his mother, who was sitting a few distances away. Naru-chan. Come over here. Come on. Come to Ka-chan. Tsunade said with a hopeful expression on her face as she opened her arms to urge Naruto to come to her. Oh, how she wished Naruto would call her Ka-chan. Naruto smiled again widely when he saw his mother speak to him. He then started crawling towards her so he could sit on his mother's lap. Tsunade then immediately put her arms down. Naruto, seeing that, sat down confused and tilted his head to the side cutely as Tsunade resisted with all her heart to not hug the boy to death. She opened her arms again and he smiled as he again started crawling to her and she again put her arms down. She giggled a bit as she saw Naruto puffing his cheeks, making him look all the more adorable in the eyes of both Tsunade and Jiraiya. Jiraiya just stood to the side and watched the mother and son pair having a good time. He saw Tsunade teasing Naruto a bit and laughed as he saw Naruto puffing his cheeks. Jiraiya saw that Naruto never cried no matter how much Tsunade teased him, and the most Naruto would ever do was puff his cheeks. Tsunade opened her arms again and saw Naruto put his hands to the ground and stood up with shaking legs as he took a step towards her and her eyes widened. Jiraiya gasped as he too went closer to Tsunade to watch Naruto take his first steps. Tsunade's face had a big smile on her now as she saw her baby son take his first few steps. She saw him look at her with those ever-curious eyes and urged him more to come to her. "Come on, Naru-chan, just a bit more. Come to Ka-chan," she said in a motherly tone. Naruto took few more steps and she saw him stumble a bit. She immediately ran to him and grabbed him in her arms before he could fall and hurt himself. She saw him gazing at her. Then, he put his little hand on her left cheek and kissed her sloppily, making her giggle. She pinched his nose slightly, making his face scrunch a bit, and she embraced him even more tightly. Naruto was only glad that he was in his mother's arms and tried to put his tiny hands around his mother's neck and put his head at the crook of her neck. "Oh, Naru, you walked so much just because of me. I love you so much, Naru-chan," she whispered, and he snuggled in her arms, making her smile. She gazed into his violet eyes that always mesmerized her and kissed him on the nose, making him giggle. "You're Ka-chan's little boy, aren't you, Naru-chan?" She cooed and kissed him again, making him giggle. Tsunade then started to tickle the boy, making him laugh even more. Flashback end. Tsunade smiled fondly as she remembered her son's first steps and how happy she felt at that time. She too had changed a lot in the past few years. She had toned down on her drinking and gambling habits a lot, as most of her time now went spending with Naruto. In her free time, when Shizune or Jiraiya were looking after Naruto, she had gotten back to her medical studies. She found it refreshing to get back to the medical field after so long. One of the few techniques which she invented during these 4 years was the Yuto Nashingu no Jutsu, wet nursing jutsu. This technique was meant for nurses who wanted to feed newborn children who were orphans. Tsunade used this jutsu to Naruto when he was younger and required mother's milk as his nourishment. The level of chakra control required for this technique was extremely high, and thus it was considered as a breakthrough in the medical field. Several medic ninjas from other shinobi villages had traveled to Konoha to learn this jutsu. Tsunade obviously had charged them for it, never giving up the chance to make easy money. Tsunade was brought out her musings as she felt a tug on her kimono and looked down to see Naruto staring at her. "Ka-chan, I finished eating the vegetables. Can we go to playground now?" Naruto asked happily. "Yes, Naru-chan. Come on, wash your mouth now quickly and we'll go outside to the playground," Tsunade said, getting up from her seat to put on her sandals. Naruto quickly went to the washroom and cleaned himself and came out to the front door to see his mother waiting for him. As soon as he was about to step out the house, Tsunade saw her son stiffen and halt his steps. She noticed he had a downcast expression and wondered what he was so worried about, although she had a nagging feeling it wouldn't be anything good. Tsunade kneeled on the ground in front of her son and lifted his chin to meet his gaze, and in a motherly voice she said, "What's wrong, Naru-chan? Do you not want to go outside? Other kids will also be coming, you know. What if the other children don't want to play with me?" Naruto sniffled a bit, saying that. "What if they say bad things too about me?" he said, looking down again. Tsunade felt immense sadness and anger upon hearing her 3-year-old son say that. Somehow, The news that Naruto was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and the Sanbi had spread like wildfire throughout the entire village. While none of the civilians and even some shinobi dared not say anything while she was out with Naruto, she knew as soon as her back was turned to them, they start cursing Naruto's existence. Some even went as far to call him terms like monster or demon in front of her. The culprits obviously paid the price of being dragged by Anbu to interrogation and torture department and then thrown to prison. But that did not stop the people from whispering. In time, even Naruto seemed to notice the harsh glares and shrill treatment towards himself. She often found him just lying in his bed silently staring at the ceiling, a lone tear often escaping his eyes. She felt anger towards the unjust treatment the village showed towards Naruto, or a 3-year-old child in fact. Tsunade engulfed Naruto in a hug and just held him close to her for a few minutes, while stroking his hair and whispering soothing things to him. Naruto calmed down a bit and put his arms around his mother and laid his head on her shoulder. Don't worry, Naru-chan. None of them are going to say anything. Plus, most of the kids in the playground will be clan heirs just like you. And knowing the clans, I am sure the children will love to play with you. Tsunade whispered slowly. Naruto nodded, listening to what his mother said, but still had his downcast look. Tsunade, seeing that, started tickling him in his belly and under his arms, which got the desired result. Naruto started laughing loudly and fell on the ground on his butt, clutching his stomach. Tsunade giggled seeing Naruto give her a glare. She too sat down and motioned for him to come to her. Naruto got up from his position and then went to sit on his mother's lap. Naruto, I want you to promise me something today, okay? Our clan, the Senju, it is a shinobi family, and life of a shinobi is never easy and is filled with obstacles and enemies. I won't force you to become a shinobi, but if you do want to become one, promise me that you will not sulk down like this. That whatever comes in your way, you will always keep that happy attitude of yours and never give up no matter what. Can you promise me that, Naru-chan? She said sweetly, looking straight into Naruto's eyes. Naruto's eyes widened a bit upon hearing that, and he gazed at his mother with a determined look in his eyes. He got up from his mother's lap and stood before her. He then made a fist with his left hand, pointing the thumb towards himself, grinning, and said, "Of course, I will become a shinobi. Just you wait and see, I will make you proud, Ka-chan. I will become the best shinobi in our village, that way no one will say bad things about me. I won't get sad either from now. The name Senju Naruto will be known by everyone. I promise." It sounded a bit childish to Tsunade, hearing such a proclamation from Naruto, but she was glad. He was not feeling bitter now like earlier, and that smile on his face radiated such joy. It made her heart melt. Come on now, Naru-chan. Let's go to the park, okay? Tsunade said. Hi, Ka-chan. Happily chirped Naruto as he held on to his mother's hands as they walked out of the Senju compound towards the park. A lot had changed in Konohagakure no Sato. The village had recovered well within the span of last few years. The buildings had been reconstructed, and those who had lost their business during the attack and got back to it, with the ample amount of money they were given by their leader. The shinobi worked hard during the mission, which kept their visage outside the village still strong. Also, the fact that the village now had 2 of the Densetsu no Sanin in the village kept their standing strong among the great 5 nations of the elemental nations. A few months after Naruto was born, the news that the Senju heir is the Jinchuriki of the monsters that attacked their village spread to almost every shinobi and civilian in the village. At first, the people found it hard to digest, that heir of such a noble clan could be a demon. But looking at his whisker marks, the civilians and some shinobi could not retort that the fact to themselves that it could be true. It's amusing how human nature works. People tend to fear something they do not understand. Naruto was hailed as the hope of the village, as the heir of the noble Senju clan, and almost immediately scorned and hated by the population of Konoha when news of his container status got out. The glares, the whispers, the ignorant behavior, all pointed towards an innocent toddler. A child who could not even speak and understand the rights and wrongs of the world against the ignorant fools of the village. Tsunade was livid upon seeing her son treated in such manner. There were many times when Shizune and Sarutobi had to hold down Jiraiya and Tsunade, so they wouldn't beat these fools to a bloody pulp. But, even the prospect of bringing forth the anger of two Sanins did not stop the vile acts. The Sandaime Hokage of the village had to make a S-class law stating that, if anyone ever talked about the Kyuubi or the Sanbi in front of Naruto, they would be taken to torture and interrogation department and thrown to prison. That somehow seemed to tone down from openly glaring at the boy. So, they did the next best thing possible. They started to ignore him. Several of the major clans in Konoha had heirs born to them in the past 3 years. The Yamanaka clan had a girl born to them, named Ino Yamanaka. The Aburame clan had a boy born to them, named Shino Aburame. Choji Akamichi, heir to the Akamichi clan. Kiba Inazuka, heir to the Inazuka clan. Shikamaru Nara, heir to the Nara clan. All these children had a healthy birth, and Tsunade seemed glad there wasn't any attack on the village during those times. Uchiha Compound. The Uchiha clan is one of the founding clans of Konohagakure no Sato along with the Senju clan. It is known all over the elemental nations that the battle prowess of the Uchihas is on par with Senju. And it is indeed true, as the devoted dujutsu of the Uchiha clan, the Sharingan, gives them an immense advantage during battle. The Uchiha clan have produced some incredibly powerful shinobis since the Warring Clan era states. The legendary Uchiha Madara, even though labeled a traitor to his own village, was the only one who could go toe-to-toe with Hashirama Senju, the Shidaime Hokage, and hailed as the Shinobi no Kami. Kagame Uchiha, a student under the belt of Nadaime Hokage, Tobarama Senju was said to be almost on par with his sensei. Itachi Uchiha and Sasuke Uchiha. The two heirs of the Uchiha clan and the sons of the current clan head and Uchiha matriarch, Fugaku Uchiha and Makoto Uchiha. Itachi is now 8 years of age while his little brother Sasuke was now 3 years and 9 months. Even though the age gap between the two brothers was considerably big, the two were inseparable. Itachi absolutely adored his little brother, and Sasuke never left Itachi's side when he was at home. Itachi became a genin at the age of 6. He graduated the Shinobi Academy in Konoha in a mere 1 year and top of his class. He was hailed as the prodigy of the Uchiha clan. Many might call him arrogant considering what he has achieved at the age of 8 and his immeasurable talent, but he was far from it. He has the humblest soul. Even though young, his mind was sharp and one might say an ideal candidate for the position of a Kage. Oni-chan, when are you going to take me to the park? You tell me every day, but you just come home and say, later Sasuke, all the time. I want to go outside. Whined a black-haired boy with chubby cheeks. Itachi turned to glance at Sasuke and saw him sitting on his butt indignantly with his hands folded on his chest. Sasuke's childish demands made him smile, as he always wished for his little brother to have a normal childhood. But his hopes seemed to be diminishing considering the course of action he might have to take in the coming years. It made him frown a bit, but he schooled his facial features. Sasuke, you sure are excited today, Itachi said with a small smile. Sasuke just grinned more, making his brother sigh. Come on, get ready. I will take you to park. And be quiet about it, alright? You know father doesn't like us to associate with people outside our clan much. Yes, Oni-chan. Sasuke then quickly left the room to get ready. Sasuke soon met up with Itachi near the front gates of the Uchiha compound, and he held his brother's hand as they both left towards a nearby park. As they were walking outside, Itachi noticed how it was very cloudy today, with a slight tint of orange. It was an odd weather for Fire Nation. It was usually sunny. Today will be the day. Two lost brothers shall meet each other again for the first time and commence their tumultuous journey. With Naruto and Tsunade. Demon, monster, inhuman creature. These were some of the whispers that were coming out of the civilians' lips as the Senju clan head, Tsunade Senju, and clan heir, Naruto Senju, passed through the crowded streets of Konoha. Look at that child, walking beside Tsunade-sama and among us, as if he thinks he can ever be human like us, said one of the shopkeepers who was standing outside in a low voice dripping with hatred. I know. I don't know why Sandame-sama and Tsunade-sama can't see that the beast is just waiting to strike again," said a lady standing nearby. Several such things were being said as the mother and son walked through the streets. Some were openly glaring at the innocent 3-year-old child while others seemed to not care that he's there. Tsunade felt her hand being gripped tightly and noticed that it was Naruto. She saw the pain in those eyes for a moment and it hurt her knowing how much her son is suffering. "Naru-chan?" Tsunade asked him in a soft voice. "Yes, Ka-chan." His voice seemed to tremble a bit. "Remember what I said? You're my strong boy, yeah?" He nodded. "Then don't listen to the bad things others say about you, okay? These people's opinion does not matter. Only those who are close to you, theirs do. You understand what I'm trying to say?" Tsunade asked, looking softly at her son. I understand," Naruto said in a small voice. He seemed to pause a bit before speaking again, then looked at his mother and said, "You consider me your precious person, don't you, Ka-chan?" "Of course, my baby. You are the most precious thing to me in the entire world," she said with a happy smile on her face. Naruto beamed with happiness on hearing that and his mood instantly became a lot better. The mother and son duo soon walked out of the crowded streets ignoring all the obscenities thrown towards Naruto and made their way towards the park. "Oni-chan, we have been walking for so long. Can you carry me on your back?" Sasuke asked looking at Itachi. "Sasuke, it's not too far now. There will be many children in the park we are going to. You can walk a bit longer, can't you?" Itachi asked with a straight face. "Nah, you have to carry me. All brothers do that. Please." Itachi felt his resolve weaken seeing his little brother's pleading face and gave in. He kneeled on the ground and asked Sasuke to get on his back. He gently picked him up, making sure to keep a firm grip. Sasuke put his arms around his brother's neck and hugged him from behind. He felt extremely happy being close to Itachi and the fact that his brother was spending time with him. "Arigato, Oni-chan. You are the best," exclaimed Sasuke. "So, Sasuke, do you want to become a shinobi?" "Yes. I want to become the strongest Uchiha to ever live there was," proudly said Sasuke. "Strongest, huh? You will have to train and work hard a lot, you know," Itachi said with a small smirk. "Of course, I will. I will train hard and soon surpass you also. You just wait and watch," Sasuke said with determination. Itachi heard the determination in his little brother's voice and smiled. He couldn't help but believe in what he said. Maybe Sasuke could be the one to change the Uchiha. Our clan has lived in darkness for long enough. I will make sure you're strong enough, Sasuke, for the upcoming battles you will inevitably face," thought Itachi with a frown at the end. Naruto and Tsunade soon reached a park, which was near the Hokage monument. Naruto was still holding his mother's hand when they entered the grassy field which was rooting many trees. He looked towards the Hokage monument and saw the faces of the 4 Hokages. He stopped his gaze, seeing the face of Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Naruto had been told a lot about the Yondaime by his Oji-san, Jiraiya. He didn't know why, but he felt feeling of familiarity staring at Yondaime's head. Tsunade saw how Naruto was staring at the Hokage monument so intently. She followed his gaze and saw him staring at the head sculpture of Yondaime Hokage. She felt her skip a bit, as she saw the look on her son's face. It was one of serene calmness. "Naru-chan," Tsunade called to him. "Yes, Ka-chan. Is everything alright? We are at the park already. You should go play with the other kids. I will be sitting in that seat nearby, okay?" Tsunade said, pointing to a seat at the side, where several other women were sitting and chatting. "Okay, Ka-chan. You wouldn't go anywhere else, would you?" he asked a bit shyly. "Shish, now, remember what I told you. You are a strong boy. Plus, do you really think I can leave someone as precious as you here alone?" Tsunade said, smiling sweetly. Naruto gave a bright smile on hearing that, immediately ran off towards the children playing in near the swings and sandbox. Tsunade, seeing her son go, went towards the other woman who were sitting on the seat. As Naruto reached towards the other children, he saw several of them who looked like they were his age. There was a feral-looking boy with brown hair and two pointed red stripes on each cheek. A pineapple-shaped black hair boy, who was lazing around by just lying on the grass. There was a blonde-haired girl in the sandbox, although her hair had lighter shade. She was sitting with a girl who had one of the oddest hair colors he has ever seen in his short life yet. It was pink. Another thing he noticed about her was her huge forehead. He giggled a bit seeing her, but covered his mouth with his hands so others wouldn't hear him. He also noticed that there were many other children, just running around and playing a sort of a game. He approached the brown-haired boy who was sitting with the lazy-looking one. "Hello. My name is Senju Naruto. What is your name?" jovially said Naruto. "Kiba Inuzuka. I'm from the Inuzuka clan." The Kiba said proudly with his thumb towards himself. "Do you want to play with us?" he asked again. "Yes. Of course, I would love to. By the way, what is his name?" Naruto said pointing towards the lazy boy. "Is he sleeping now? I don't want to disturb him, if he's asleep." Naruto said softly. "Oh him. No, he's not. He's just very lazy all the time," he said with a laugh, then went and shook Shikamaru from his dazed state. The lazy boy yawned once, and muttered something incomprehensible under his breath which Naruto didn't quite get, but did giggle a bit seeing his facial expression. "Hi, I'm Shikamaru Nara, from the Nara clan," the boy said with a yawn. He extended his hand towards Naruto, which Naruto shook with a bright smile on his face. "Hello Shikamaru, I'm Senju Naruto. It's nice to meet you. Do you want to play something?" Naruto said. "Yeah, sure. Let's call Ino and Sakura, then we can all play together," Kiba said, as he was pointing his fingers towards the two girls sitting and playing inside the sandbox. "Alright, sure." Naruto was very happy that he got some people who were willing to play with him, and didn't say any bad things about him like some of the people in the village. "Oye Ino, Sakura, come over here. We got a new friend over here. We can play something together," Kiba shouted on top his voice. "Geez Kiba, would you calm down please? I can clearly hear you from here," Ino said. Ino gestured Sakura to come along with her, where all the boys were standing. Sakura was shy if she meets someone for the first time. She is from a civilian family, although her father did serve as a ninja during the Third Great Shinobi War. Ino and Sakura walked to where the boys were standing. Ino noticed Naruto who was standing and personally she found him to be attractive with his spiky blonde hair. She was about to extend her hand to say hello to Naruto when Sakura screamed with anger, "Demon, it's the demon boy who killed so many civilians during the attack 4 years ago. My mother told me to stay away from him." As soon as those words left Sakura's mouth everyone was now staring at Naruto with dumbfounded expression, while Naruto just knelt and started crying. With Tsunade and the other women. Tsunade went and sat with the other women, Sume and Yoshina, who were Kiba's and Shikamaru's mother respectively. They were a bit startled to see Tsunade here, but greeted her nonetheless. She sat down with them and started talking about their children, their life and day-to-day chores. Both Sume and Yoshina knew Naruto was the son of Yondaime Hokage. They of course were surprised to see how Naruto looked right now. With his jaw-length hair, and the way it spiked in certain areas, he sure looked a lot like his old man. All the three women were talking calmly, when they heard a shout which brought a feeling of dread in Tsunade's heart. "Demon, it's the demon boy, who killed so many civilians during the attack 4 years ago. My mother told me to stay away from him." She heard a girl scream. She immediately ran to Naruto's side and saw him clutching to his knees and sniffling slowly in his hands. It broke her heart to see her baby boy in such condition. She also noticed a couple of Anbu coming and apprehending the now scared girl who screamed that obscenity. Tsunade glared at the pink-haired girl heatedly who screamed such an awful thing to her son and felt anger rising towards her parents. Sume and Yoshino came by the children's side and took them away to explain things to them. One of the Anbu she noticed was wearing a dog mask and she approached him. "Dog, I don't believe it's her fault entirely. Get her parents to interrogation and torture department and have Ibiki question them. She said sternly. Hi Tsunade-sama. Dog said as he took hold of the girl's arms and vanished in a swirl of leaves. She couldn't help but notice the apprehensive look on her face when the shinobi took her away. Although, personally that girl deserved it in her opinion. She carefully went and sat down in front of Naruto, who was still crying. I should have seen this coming. What was I thinking of being hopeful that these damn civilians won't pass on their idiotic ideology to their children? Damn it, Tsunade thought with frustration. She approached her son and quickly embraced him in a tight hug. She felt him stiffen slightly and then he relaxed in her presence. She started stroking his hair gently and whispered softly, I'm sorry Naru-chan. I'm so sorry. You shouldn't have heard that awful thing from the girl. Naruto continued to sniffle a bit, but he felt better now that his mother was close to him. He always felt so much at ease when she hugs him and strokes his hair. He put his small hands across his mother and gave her a tight hug in return, burying his head in her neck. Why Ka-chan? Why do they call me such bad names? Did I do something bad to them? Tell me please. It hurts. Shish. It's alright Naru. Don't worry about them. I'm here with you. I will keep you safe, okay? Tsunade said as she cupped his cheeks made him look at her. She could see his eyes had become red and puffy. She put his head back down and started stroking his back gently. It hurt her, knowing that her son cried for a reason that was out of his control. She cursed the person who let his Jinchuriki status out. I will need to have a talk with Sarutobi-sensei regarding this. There weren't many people who were aware of Naruto being the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi and Sanbi. The person will pay. Whoever is the cause for my son's suffering. She promised herself. She noticed that Naruto's body went limp in her arms and realized he must have fallen asleep. She scooped him up in his arms and laid his head on her lap, so he could sleep comfortably. Unknown to the people who were involved in the incident that took place a while back, both Itachi and Sasuke had witnessed that entire thing. Itachi felt a bit of sympathy for the blonde boy, scorned for reasons not in his control. Itachi felt, Naruto should be raised as a hero in the village. So young, yet protecting everyone in Konoha against the wrath of powerful bijus like Kyuubi no Yoko and the Sanbi. He turned to his brother to see he was intently staring at Naruto. Sasuke had been quiet during the entire ordeal. His young mind didn't know what to think. Here, a boy almost the same age as he was being called a demon and he did not know the reason why. But, looking at the blonde, Sasuke felt a certain connection. He couldn't explain it. He slowly started moving toward the position where Naruto was peacefully sleeping in his mother's arms. Itachi watched as his brother walked towards the Sannin woman. In a way, both have hindrances which will make it hard for them to make friends. One because he is hated by the village for container status and the other because his clan considers other people beneath them and forbids from associating with lesser people. So alike, yet so different. Thought Itachi with a thoughtful expression on his young face. Tsunade didn't know how much time passed, since she was sitting here with Naruto sleeping in her arms. He looks so calm and peaceful when he's asleep. Don't worry Naru-chan. Your Ka-chan will protect you, until you can do so yourself. And even after that, I will always stand by your side. I just wish the people of this village saw you for who you truly are. It hurts me too Naru, seeing you in so much pain at this young an age. She thought. Suddenly she felt two presences behind her. One familiar and one not. She turned behind her and came face to face with a young boy. He looked almost the same age as Naruto. He had black hair and coal black eyes. Uchiha, she thought. Is he okay? Sasuke asked with a sad voice. Tsunade was a bit surprised hearing that question. She didn't expect an Uchiha to come and ask about the welfare of her son. He's asleep right now. It's best to let him rest. She said softly, so as not wake Naruto up. It's bad, what that girl said. I didn't like it. She must be very mean to say such things. Why would she say such bad things about him? He replied. What is with this boy? Tsunade thought surprised. I don't know child. Some people, they just don't understand, Naruto. My son's name is Senju Naruto. She said in a tired voice. Can I sit beside him? I want to be there when he wakes up. I don't have many friends, you know. Maybe, Naruto and I could become good friends. Once again, a child, and Uchiha nonetheless was willing to become friends with her son. She felt a bit conflicted initially, not trusting another person right after what happened, especially in Uchiha. But the look in the child's eyes showed nothing but concern. She eventually nodded to him and Sasuke came and sat beside Naruto. Itachi, who was watching the interaction between Tsunade and Sasuke from a distance himself, was surprised by his little brother's actions. He had never seen such a caring side of Sasuke. Maybe, just maybe, the Uchiha clan still has hope in the form of Sasuke. He thought. I know you're there, Itachi. You might as well come out here. Tsunade said. Itachi felt a bit ashamed being caught like this, but came out of the trees and went towards the Sannin. He bowed in front of her and said politely, Greetings, Tsunade-sama. I apologize on my brother's and my behalf for intruding you and Naruto at such a time. I hope you do not mind. It's no problem, Itachi-kun. So, he's your brother, huh? I'm glad he's willing to sit beside Naruto and befriend him. She said with a small smile. Itachi could see, she was tired looking at her face, but he chose not to comment on that matter. What is his name, Itachi-kun? She asked. Sasuke Uchiha. Our father chose to name him after Sandaime-sama's father. Itachi replied. Tsunade looked towards Sasuke and saw him gazing at Naruto's face intently. Tsunade felt Naruto move in her arms and she looked down to see him waking up. Naruto moved his hands to his face, and started rubbing his eyes with his little fingers to remove the excess sleep. Soon, Naruto opened his violet eyes and his gaze was met with coal-black eyes. He sat up from his mother's lap and just stared at the boy in front of him. Both Tsunade and Itachi chose not to say anything and just observe how things went. For a reason, unknown to Naruto, he moved his right hand towards the boy in front of him and said, Hello, I'm Senju Naruto. Sasuke placed his own left hand in Naruto's right and said with a big smile, I'm Uchiha Sasuke. Thus, began the story of two lost brothers, who share a bond which is centuries old. The story of Sasuke and Naruto. Dreams and revelations. Time skip. 1 year and 4 months. Brothers. Senju Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. That's how they felt when the two were with each other. The two young boys met almost every day and spent their time either sitting under the shade of a tree or sitting near a lake, skipping stones. Tsunade and Itachi too were slightly surprised at how close the young kids had gotten to each other. It wasn't hard for Sasuke to notice how the villagers treated Naruto, and it infuriated him because he didn't know why. So, he did what he could to protect his best friend. He glared right back at them. Although Naruto ignored the behavior the villagers shown towards him to the best of his ability now, somewhere in his heart he still wished if they could stop. Today, the two young boys were sitting on top of the Yondaime Hokage's head. Naruto couldn't explain it why, but he felt at peace sitting in this place. Naruto exhaled a deep sigh as he opened his eyes and stared at the red and orange glow of the sky. He looked to his right and saw that Sasuke was lying down with his hands behind his head and eyes closed. But he knew, Sasuke was still awake. He could sense another presence close by but knew the person had no ill intentions towards him or Sasuke. Probably one of those Anbu who always trails me when I'm within the village. He got up from his position and went to the edge and sat down. From there, he had the view of the entire village. Kakashi Hatake, the last surviving student of Yondaime Hokage, who was also an Anbu agent, was a few meters away on a tree keeping guard on them, especially Naruto. He never tried making any contact with the boy. He knew Naruto was the son of Yondaime Hokage, his late sensei. The death of his father, Tsukumo Hatake, hit him hard and his life had become a mess at that point. It was Minato who looked after him and helped him with his problems and taught him the ways of a shinobi. So, when he was informed by the Sandaime that his sensei and father figure had died in battle, he was devastated. He did not hate the blonde boy at all. Far from it. He was among the first ones to know that Minato and Kushina were expecting a child and was ecstatic on the prospect of meeting someone he could call his brother. It's just whenever he looked at Naruto, he saw his sensei's face in him and was reminded of the times he spent with him, and he couldn't bring himself to talk to the little blonde. He was broken out of his thoughts when he heard Naruto speak. Sasuke. Naruto called out, still looking at the sky. The boy in question was now sitting beside his friend who had woken up the moment Naruto left his earlier position. Sasuke saw a thoughtful look on Naruto's face and answered, What is it? Why do you want to become a shinobi? He quirked an eyebrow upon hearing the question, but answered nonetheless. To become strong. To become the strongest Uchiha there is, to ever live. Naruto glanced towards Sasuke once and saw the look in his eyes. It was filled with determination and confidence. It made him believe his friend could achieve his goal in the long run. What about you, Naruto? Do you want to become the strongest shinobi in your clan? Asked Sasuke. Naruto thought over it. He knew there were several amazingly strong shinobi in his clan and two of those were the first two Hokage of the village. As well, his mother, Senju Tsunade, is regarded as one of the strongest shinobi in the elemental nations. He looked towards the sky again and saw how majestic it looked in its evening color. I want to become Hokage someday. He answered confidently. Sasuke widened his eyes upon hearing that and looked towards Naruto. He then smiled a bit upon hearing that. Only he can think of such big dreams. Sasuke thought. I don't know why they hate me, Sasuke. But I want to show them that I'm not a bad person. So, someday when I become Hokage, they will all acknowledge me. I will surpass the Yondaime one day. He is regarded as the strongest and the greatest of all the Hokage. Naruto said looking at Sasuke. Sasuke obviously knew the tales of the Yondaime Hokage. His brother, Itachi, had told him a lot about the man. So, to think his friend wanted to surpass the strongest of all Hokage was a bit surprising for him. He saw Naruto stand up and look down at the village. It's beautiful, isn't it? Naruto asked in a small whisper. Sasuke followed the blonde's gaze and indeed had to agree the village looked beautiful under the red and orange glow of the evening sky. The village looks so peaceful now. I want to protect this. I can sense how happy the village is at the moment. I want to do everything in my power to keep our village like this. The people of this village may not like me now, but this is still my home and the place where I was born. That is why I will be Hokage, to keep this village safe. I will train hard and become strong. No matter what happens, I will protect this village from anyone who tries to harm it. Then people will acknowledge me as Senju Naruto. People will start looking at me like someone important. Spoke a highly passionate Naruto. Sasuke didn't know what to say. He had never heard anyone say such a thing. His father always taught him that the Uchiha were above everyone else and that the village should work with them as their leader. I don't know about the village, Naruto. But I will always be there for you. No matter what happens, I will be there to protect you. You are younger than me, so it is my duty to protect my little brother. I will help you become stronger. Sasuke said the last part in a bare whisper looking down at the village. Naruto became a bit flustered upon hearing Sasuke call him his little brother, but maintained his calm persona. Ka-chan and Jiraiya Oji-chan did tell me that I should remain calm in all circumstances. Naruto thought. Kakashi, who was watching them from a distance away, widened his eyes upon hearing Naruto proclaiming his dream. Kakashi couldn't see his face since he was facing Naruto's back, but he was sure the expression on the blonde's face would be one to remember. Sensei, that one word was the only thing that he could think of right now. If only you here to see your son, Minato-sensei. I am sure you would be proud of the way he's growing up. Kakashi thought with one of his eye smiles. He saw Naruto and Sasuke leave the Hokage monument and make their way towards each other's home. After some time, Kakashi came out of the trees once he was sure the two boys were gone. He stood at the same spot Naruto was standing a few minutes ago and looked down at the village. He just stared at the village for a few seconds and then looked towards the setting sun. He closed his eyes and thought, maybe I could help Naruto with his dream. Minato-sensei. I will help him in any way I can. I know you would have wanted me to. Kakashi thought to himself as he opened his eyes. After all, he's the only family I have remaining. And with that thought, Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. A few minutes earlier at the Senju compound. The Senju compound was among the first compounds to be built, along with the Uchiha and the Hyuga, when the village was first formed. During those times, the Senju clan was vast and had several hundred members. Thus, to suit everyone's needs, Hashirama had built a large compound with several houses within. In the middle of the compound was the largest house, which belonged to the clan head. Tsunade, Naruto and Shizune lived in the clan head's house as Tsunade and Naruto were the last living Senju in the elemental nations. Shizune, who was the niece of Dan Kato, Tsunade's former lover, had no other family left after her uncle had died fighting in the Second Shinobi War. Hence, Shizune had been staying with Tsunade ever since. Tsunade was sitting in the living room, going through one of her medical books while Shizune was out in the gardens watering the plants. It was a pretty normal day at the Senju compound. While the Senju woman was going through her books, she felt someone enter through the window in the living room and sit beside her. She didn't need to look at the person to know who it was. Years of witnessing him doing similar things and not using the door to enter a room like any normal human had made her familiar to the person in his presence. "What do you want, Jiraiya?" Tsunade asked without looking away from her book. "Oh, you hurt me, Haim. No hello or any greetings for me," said the white-haired Sanin with a wide grin on his face. She eventually looked at him and said, "You will get a proper greeting when you enter the house properly. Until then, no. So again, why are you here, Jiraiya? You usually come on days when Naru-chan learns Fuinjutsu from you. Today is certainly not that day." She saw his face become serious and grew a bit concerned. She knew Jiraiya only became serious when the matter was of grave importance. Somehow she knew, this matter related her son and it wasn't anything good. "Alright, Haim, all joking aside, you're right. There's a reason I'm here today." Jiraiya spoke, leaving all humor aside. Tsunade immediately straightened up and began to listen to what Jiraiya had to say intently. "You might remember, a few years back I told you about a mercenary group made of several missing ninjas. I had my spy network keep their ears open and listen to any news that might travel regarding that group and information about other shinobi villages. One report I received recently is concerning Naruto. It's not good," he said with a grim expression. Jiraiya had decided it was best not to tell Tsunade about the missing ninjas being S rank at that time, since she had just agreed to take care of Naruto and hearing about such a disturbing group might have increased her worries as a mother. Tsunade nodded but did frown upon hearing the last part. It's not an easy task for a village to maintain its military strength after getting attacked by two Biju and their strongest shinobi dying in the line of duty. Currently, several of the other villages are observing us carefully, especially our military, to see how badly we were hurt. I would say Iwagakure rejoiced upon hearing the news of Minato's death. Also, Iwa is one of the main villages which is currently keeping an eye on us. That old fence-sitter, Onoki, was always a cunning and a hot-headed man. Kumogakure's Sandame Raikage died a couple years back as you know and was selected as the Yondaime Raikage. Although I doubt Kumo would do something drastic as of this moment, since A and Minato had a friendly relationship and rivalry between each other. But still, we can't rule them out yet. Kurigakure no Sato has been staying neutral towards any village for the time being, so it's hard to devise their motives. Jiraiya informed, to which Tsunade nodded for him to continue. Thankfully, Sarutobi-sensei has been keeping other villages in the dark about how badly the village was actually hurt. As far as the other villages are concerned, Konoha still stands strong. Plus, the alliance which Konoha gained 3 years back with Sunagakure no Sato, is also another thing which would make them hesitant to take any measures. So, I don't believe that they will try to attack the village. Also, Word has spread around different villages that there's a Senju heir in Konoha and that you are the mother Tsunade. But as of yet, no one knows that Naruto's the Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi and the Sanbi. Some of the minor villages were indifferent to the news while some such as Kumogakure and Iwagakure were not happy regarding the news. Although they haven't taken any steps regarding this matter, we will still have to be careful. He said, to which Tsunade was in complete agreement. Now, what new do you have concerning Naruto? Tsunade asked with worry present in her voice. Just then Shizune entered the room and saw Jiraiya sitting on a couch along with Tsunade, who had a worried expression on her face. Upon the question about the reasons for her worry, Jiraiya explained it to her teammate's apprentice briefly about what he had told Tsunade up till now. The mercenary group are keeping low profile currently to not attract too much attention and are highly secretive. From what my informants told me and from what I gathered from people traveling around the elemental nations in the last few years, they will be big trouble in the future. What do you mean by that, Jiraiya-sama? Asked Shizune. All the members of the group are S-class criminals. This is also the group which concerns me the most, as they are after people like Naruto. Replied Jiraiya. This shocked both the women sitting in the room. S-class was given to shinobi of the highest caliber. These types of ninjas could take out an entire army by themselves and still not be wounded. Only a handful of shinobi were ever granted double S-class status due to their impeccable battle prowess. Those being Tsunade's grandfather and Naruto's great-grandfather Hashirama Senju, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the legend of the Uchiha clan Madara Uchiha, and Naruto's father Namikaze Minato. It made Tsunade extremely worried since shinobi of such caliber rarely ever try to work together. The only way they would ever work together would be if they were being led by someone who was even stronger than them and able to defeat them simultaneously. It worried her because shinobi of such battle prowess would have to be extremely powerful. She then suddenly registered the last part which Jiraiya said. What do you mean, people like Naruto? It was Shizune who blurted out the question before Tsunade could even ask. She had a bit of suspicion, but she hoped what she was thinking was wrong. Jiraiya looked at Shizune and could understand her dilemma. It's exactly what I mean, Shizune. I don't know their exact plans are, but from what my sources tell me, they are after Jinchuriki. More preciously, they are after the Biju inside them. Jiraiya answered, shocking both the women. Are you certain, Jiraiya? Asked a worried Tsunade, to which the sage nodded. Does this group have a name, Jiraiya-sama? Asked Shizune. Yes. They call themselves Akatsuki. They wear high-collared black cloaks with red clouds on them. The members of this group usually travel in pairs. From what I have gathered, these people won't make any real move towards any of the Jinchuriki for a while. This type of plan requires a lot of strategy and funding. Also, they don't know who the Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi and Sanbi is. I don't think anyone has ever been made into a Jinchuriki for 2 Biju before. It was only due to Naruto's strong life force that the ceiling of 2 Biju was even possible. Sensei is keeping a tight lip to the people outside the village about Naruto. Although, I can't say the same about the villagers. Jiraiya grumbled the last part, showing his utter dissatisfaction towards the actions shown by the people of Konoha. Jiraiya straightened himself and looked straight into Tsunade's eyes. Tsunade, listen to what I have to say carefully now, okay? Tsunade was a bit surprised upon hearing it, but nodded her head. Naruto, he is not a normal child. He has blood of among the strongest shinobi running through his veins. Now, I may not know about biology much, but I believe when you used to him, the milk he drank contained your dormant DNA too. So, it is possible to say he also has your DNA, but it will remain dormant in him unless he works on his physical prowess. He is bound to become a shinobi of great battle prowess. Believe me when I say this, he can surpass all the previous Hokage Konohagakure no Sato has seen. I'm not only saying this because he's my godson and your son now. But what, Jiraiya? Get out with it already. She was getting frustrated now. Tsunade was never known for her patience. Do you remember the night Fukasaku-sensei came and asked me to come with him to Mount Myoboku? Tsunade nodded. All the while Shizune just kept quiet and listened to the Sannin talk. She herself was worried about Naruto. Ever since the blonde boy could talk, he had started to call her Shizune Ne-chan. She felt horrible about just thinking of the dangers he might face when he grows up. That night I was summoned by the Grand Elder Toad. Years back, when I first became their summoner, they told me about a prophecy. A prophecy about a child, who shall rise in the time of darkness and become the savior of this world. He told me that night, Naruto was the child. He will be the one to become the light that shall eradicate all darkness that lingers in the elemental nations. Jiraiya said slowly. Both Tsunade's and Shizune's eyes widened upon hearing that. Naru-chan, the child of prophecy, Tsunade thought. Jiraiya. What are you saying? He's just a child, for God's sake, shouted Tsunade as she stood up from her sitting position and started leaking her killing intent unconsciously. Clam down, Tsunade. I know what I'm saying. I don't want to burden Naruto with anything. I love him just as much as you do. But we must face the facts now. He won't have a normal life. The moment he was made into a Jinchuriki, his normal life had ended. With groups like Akatsuki behind him, he won't have time to slack off. He will need to be as strong as possible. We both are strong, Tsunade. But none of us can handle more than 2S class criminals on our own. They will eventually come to know Naruto as the Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi and the Sanbi, and when they do, we should assume they will come to get him with full force. So, it will be better for us as well as for Naruto, if he will be prepared to face them. Jiraiya said sternly, while also releasing his own killing intent to match Tsunade's. It seemed to calm Tsunade down as her facial features relaxed a bit and sat down on her seat. She understood the meaning of Jiraiya's words. She knew what he said was true. While she herself was a powerful shinobi, even she would have trouble going up against more than 2S class criminals. Now that you know what I'm saying clearly, you also know we don't have a choice. We will have to increase Naruto's training. He has way too much chakra for a 5-year-old kid. He has as much chakra as an elite Junin. For the past year, he has only been doing physical exercises, Fuinjutsu studies and chakra control. The kid is a genius in Fuinjutsu. He's just like his father in that department. Jiraiya said with a wide smile on his after the heated discussion that took place. Hearing about her son's progress in Fuinjutsu made Tsunade extremely happy. He's my son after all. He's bound to be good in everything. Tsunade said proudly. Shizune too smiled upon her master say that. Tsunade, I will take care of Naruto's ninjutsu and Fuinjutsu. I know you want to teach him medical ninjutsu. That's okay. If he becomes capable of doing medical ninjutsu, his chakra control would be almost perfect then. That will just make his ninjutsu much stronger. Jiraiya explained. Both Tsunade and Shizune understood where the white-haired man was going and nodded. Don't worry. I will take care of his physical health, chakra control and medical ninjutsu. Tsunade said. Tsunade-sama, Shizune asked a bit shyly. If you don't mind, I would also like to help Naruto-kun. I may not be as good you or Jiraiya-sama, but I would like to teach him what I know. Tsunade looked at her apprentice, confused, and said, Shizune, must you ask for that? Naru-chan considers you as his elder sister. Of course, it won't be a problem. Before Shizune could thank her master, all the people sitting in the living room heard a very familiar voice. Ka-chan, Ka-chan, where are you? Asked Naruto as he was running through the house. Tsunade had to smile a bit upon hearing her son's voice. It always brought joy to her. Naru-chan, I'm in the living room. Come over here. She spoke loudly, to make herself audible to Naruto. Naruto, hearing his mother's voice, ran as fast as he could and entered the living room. He quickly went to his mother and gave her a tight hug. Oh, looks like my little Naru-chan missed me a lot today, huh? Tsunade asked playfully. Uh-huh. Sasuke and I were sitting on top of Yondaimi's head today the whole day. And when the sun was setting, I could see the entire village from the edge. It looked so beautiful, Ka-chan, exclaimed the excited blonde. Jiraiya stood behind Naruto and ruffled his hair. That's good to hear, kid. Oji-chan, how come you are here today? Are we learning Fuinjutsu today also? Naruto asked. No, not today, kid. Today, your mother and I have something important to tell you. So, sit down now. Naruto did as he was told and sat down on the couch beside his mother. Naru-chan, we are going to start training you in the different arts of shinobi starting from tomorrow, okay? So, today you take rest and from tomorrow we will start training you seriously, okay? Naruto became very excited upon and a huge smile found its way to his face. Now I can become stronger and be Hokage someday, he stated happily. Tsunade just froze upon hearing those words coming out of her son's mouth and stared at him. What did you say, Naru-chan? She asked him again just to make sure what she heard was correct. Jiraiya too was staring at Naruto and waiting to see what the kid would reply. Naruto felt a bit awkward being put into the spotlight like this. He saw his Ka-chan, Oji-chan and Nei-chan all staring at him and waiting for him to reply. He calmed his nerves looking straight at his mother and said, I want to be Hokage someday, Ka-chan. So, someday the people of this village will acknowledge me and notice that I'm not a bad person and start seeing me as someone important. I will surpass all the previous Hokage, especially the Yondaime, and show everyone that I'm Senju Naruto. I will protect the village with everything I have just like the Yondaime. To be Hokage, that is my dream. Tsunade did not know what to say. Those words. Those exact same words. She had heard that so many times. And every time, the person was taken away from her, as if life was playing a cruel joke on her. Suddenly she saw a faint image of her grandfather Hashirama standing to Naruto's left with one hand on his left shoulder, Dan and Nawaki standing on his right with each of their hand on his right shoulder, and finally Minato, with his right hand on his son's hair. All of them had smiles on their faces and they nodded their heads. She blinked her eyes, wondering if she was hallucinating. The next moment, they were gone. She saw Jiraiya kneeling in front of Naruto to his eye level and both his hands firmly on Naruto's shoulder. I believe in you, Naruto. That is a very noble dream. Your mother, Shizune, and I shall help you all the way, until the time you become the strongest shinobi to ever live in the elemental nations. And if you work hard enough, you can make all your dreams come true. Jiraiya spoke softly, looking at his godson with a smile. Maybe, I could trust in someone else again with that dream. I believe in you too, my little Naru-chan, thought Tsunade. She wiped away the single lone tear that rolled down her left eye, unnoticed by anyone else, and looked her son. Come on now, Naru-chan, time for your dinner. And this time you're eating your vegetables without making any fuss. Or else no ramen for you, for a week, stated Tsunade in a dangerous voice. No ramen, no ramen, no ramen, no, that's not good. Naruto thought as he heard his mother say those awful words. Ka-chan, you can't do this. Ramen is the food of gods. You know how much I love it, whined Naruto as he just sat down on the ground with a thud. Jiraiya, who had now moved to the side, laughed a bit upon seeing the interaction between Naruto and Tsunade. He smiled seeing how his godson could be so mature at one second and act his age the next. Do not take that tone with me, young man. I can and I will ban you from ramen if you don't your vegetables this time, she stated. Naruto just huffed and looked away from his mother, pouting and grumbling something about uncool mothers. Shizune had to cover her mouth upon her master being referred to as uncool. Tsunade heard what he said but just ignored it.